Dang, you live like this? While Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's future is an epilogue of DLC, I actually forgot that there's some minor epilogue stuff in the base game I never did, please don't hate me. After completing the Ace Academy tournament, some additional storylines open up for the three best friends, Penny, Arven, and Nemona. I actually think this is a pretty cool idea, especially because we don't technically interact with Penny all that much during the main story. Sure, she is there the whole time undercover as Cassiopeia, and does show up in person every so often, but it isn't until she's reunited with Team Star that she starts to let her walls down and really become friends with us. So we can find Penny hanging out in the school entrance hall, spying on Giacomo and Ortega, worried that the Team Star members might be having trouble readjusting to school life. It is also nice to see some interactions between these characters taking place in the present day where they're just allowed to be themselves. They're both trying to think of ways they can let their fellow students know that they're friendly, at which point Giacomo suggests loudly announcing their presence in the same way rhyme would get an audience excited for a concert. I do love that since we have these two characters in the same game who are both musicians, one references the other because of course he would. I also love that there's this specific animation for Ortega. He drops his staff out of pure shock. Some great details to give us more hints of their personalities. Giacomo proceeds to start yelling and Ortega eventually joins in. I guess because this is technically the entrance hall and not a library, they're allowed to get away with this. I was totally expecting Time to walk in and tell them to shut up, but some of the other students are amused by their act and decide they aren't so scary after all. Next, we find Penny in the school store spying on Atticus. Though for someone who's a master hacker and was able to keep an insane level of anonymity, she's literally in plain sight and there's no way she would go unnoticed. But Atticus is attempting to purchase a ninja cosplay outfit that the store apparently just ran out of. Once again, they're locking all the cool outfits behind literally being an NPC. Why couldn't I purchase a ninja outfit? Though we do get to see Atticus's actual face.
I can't believe it!
Thankfully, everything's wrapped up when that little dude from the main story runs in and tells him that he was the one who bought the last two outfits for both of them. It's nice that even though Atticus is the only Team Star member we see by himself, he's already managed to have a friend here at the Academy. I feel like this came a lot more naturally to him though. Sure, every member of Team Star was a family to each other, but Atticus specifically had the generous personality, and was the kind to reach out to others because he did create these special outfits for everyone else. Lastly, we find Penny in the art classroom after hearing rumors Team Star planned to raid the class. This time she isn't even trying to hide. But after Mela and Aries show up, it turns out Mela just wanted to join the club, after having been inspired by Atticus, which is honestly really nice. I also love how Aries has to be there to help her calm down, or at least help her properly say what she wants to say and not come off as too harsh. And she calls out Penny for not even trying to hide. Overall, these are some nice little stories we get to witness for the Team Star members, like we actually get to see them rejoining the other students at the Academy, and even find their ways into the routine of school life. Though I think Giacomo and Ortega's story, while being funny, didn't really show them fitting in. Sure, they're accepted by some of the other students, but it isn't as effective as how we see the others actually making friends and joining clubs. Though it was really nice for Penny getting to see that she's still concerned with the well-being of her friends, but thankfully doesn't have to worry about them as they can handle themselves. And after this, we get to see Penny's dorm room and yeah, this place is a mess. I mean, I totally expected this, but it's just crazy to see. The lights are low and there's only the slightest bit of sunlight creeping in. Boxes from online orders are everywhere and so are her Pokemon, or as she calls them, VVs. Aside from the ultra-wide monitor, there's also a bunch of other nerd stuff like Pokemon figurines, a Palafin poster, which is such a good idea because it drives home the idea of the Pokemon being a superhero type. Oh, and there's even a mascot Tokusatsu character. Like, please Game Freak, why is this just a little Easter egg? Also, why can't I decorate my room like this? Okay, maybe not exactly like this, but you get the idea. Then again, if I stay here for too long, I'm gonna need a lot of allergy medications, so let's see what Arven is up to. So we find Arven in the cafeteria feeling a little average compared to his friends. He plays off his cooking skills as nothing special and instead decides he wants to learn more about his parent despite all of the, well, you know. But this is actually a nice little way to give him some extra closure. I had mentioned that the way the main story ends with the Ed Sheeran credits, I feel like a decent amount of emotional conflict isn't as resolved as it could have been, and that it sort of works in the context of the Way Home story because it ends with the friend group all together. But this extra bit with Arven is a nice way for him to find himself, especially after we learn that the research equipment in Director Clavel's lab was used by Arven's parent. We later catch up with him in the entrance hall reading the Scarlet or Violet book, and eventually we get to visit his room as well, which is very clean and organized, the exact opposite of Penny's. But here, Arven reveals that after reflecting on his own adventure with Mabostiff, his dream is to continue pursuing cooking in order to make healthy food as a way to help others. And it's a great way to end his story because it was kind of obvious he would end up choosing the culinary path, but it's nice that it comes as a result of him learning more about the professor while also focusing on what's important to him. Anyway, like I said, Arven's dorm is really nice. I think this is more so how I would want to decorate mine like. And look at all that food and everything that's in that kitchen, you can just tell he's been cooking for real. But after this, we find Nemona in the schoolyard where she challenges us to a battle, and I'm not gonna lie, I got a little scared that this would be an actual battle. I was kind of unprepared. But thankfully, Game Freak themselves also got tired of Nemona's battles, so we just get this screen that tells us we battled for 2 hours. We later find that Nemona is trying to battle anyone and everyone else, but she ends up being upset that nobody wants to actually go through with it because they perceive her as this prodigy with unmatched skill. They don't even bother because they figure they'll just lose. And it all culminates with her telling us that she isn't super special with innate talent or that her background didn't give her any big advantage. She just really loves Pokemon battles and put her all into it, and before she realized it, she had become a champion ranked trainer. And while I was ready to call her epilogue storyline a little basic based on the first few interactions, I found myself kind of relating to her. I think especially for me, if I happen to receive praise for whatever skills or talents I express, I never see it as something extremely special. I just love creative outlets, and whatever results from that is just me doing what I love, having improved after all these years because of that love. I think that's kind of how a lot of us are with our own respective talents or hobbies, but I'm curious what everyone else thinks and feels about this. In the end, Nemona is at least happy to have a friend like us who she can battle without holding back. Anyway, her dorm room isn't all that different from the player characters, probably because she spends a good amount of time out and about, though she does have a few awards and we even get to see a bunch of Pokeballs at the ready. These must be some of the other Pokemon that she rotates in and out of her team. Maybe the small Arven Lechonk that the Pokemon website told us she uses are among them. Another neat little detail are the boxes of what looks like Pokemon food broken down for different types. While she's probably not as good at food prep as Arven is, it's still cool that she has all of this for her Pokemon to keep them in top shape. Well, that was my little adventure in becoming close friends with the characters of the game. I did really love the interactions we could have with the school staff throughout the game, and it's kind of a great idea to have the same thing for the main important characters of the story, because they're the ones that we spend the most time with and would want them to have a nice end to their respective journeys. And it was a good way to help expand the setting of the academy with their dorm rooms, so it doesn't feel like we're the only student there. So let me know what you thought of these little interactions and who had the best room out of the bunch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to sit here and pretend that this place is as good as a secret base. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, especially the great Gators, Cheeseburger Lasers, Gavnuts, Justin R, Cosmo Zero, Michaela, Mr. Pig Puncher, Phantom Pyro, Quago, Volity, and Pastel Blood. If you would like to support, get your name shouted out here as well as access to emotes and comments, live streams, and some early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter as well, but anyway, this has been GatorEX, and I'll catch you all later.
The open world of Paldea awaits. Out here, you can meet new Pokémon. It's your world, your way. Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet. Rated everyone.